And good morning, Weather.meteorologist Evan Hatter with a check of your forecast, a very active forecast here on this Wednesday morning, brought to you by On Target. A few showers working through the region, or not even showers, it's mostly just in the way of some cloudiness working through the region this morning. We will continue to see that potential as we head through the early morning hours before we break out into some more full sunshine as we head through the remainder of the day. We will continue to see very warm air pushing up into the region as we head through the day today. It's already very warm outside, and we will continue to see that as we head through the daytime hours. Temperatures this morning into the region already in the middle 60s. Middle 60s this morning, and we are not even to 6 a.m. yet on this, what may end up being a very active Wednesday, April the 2nd. 66 on the at the WKU farm, same thing in Scottsville. 64, a popular number. 65 up in Morgantown. So it will remain a very warm day. Breezy conditions will start to work in as we head through the day, and that will be setting the stage for potentially significant severe weather across the region as we head through the nighttime hours. You see the low pressure on the surface chart this morning centered over Omaha. That will drag a warm front through here as we head through the morning hours. We're kind of seeing that as we speak, and that means we will be watching the potential for the environment to get conducive for strong to severe storms as we head later on this evening and into the overnight. I think during the day we're okay, but as we head into the afternoon and evening, that's when things get very, very active, especially off to our west. But I think we're going to have to deal with some of that as we head into the nighttime hours. First things first, we have a wind advisory in effect. That'll go into effect here in about an hour or so at 7 a.m. and last through midnight with the potential for wind gusts of 45 to 50 miles per hour as the strong gradient winds of this strong low pressure start to warm up the atmosphere, bring us moisture from the Gulf, bring us very warm conditions as we head through the day. Highs will be in the low to mid 80s during the day today, so make sure you've got any unsecured objects outside, kind of bring them in, bring in the trash cans. We don't want to see any of God's Frisbees flying today. Those would be your trampolines. So we're going to need to watch the potential there for winds outside of any storms to really ramp up as we head through the day today. But the big threat for tonight is going to be the chance for strong to severe thunderstorms and a very rare level 5 high risk for severe weather was issued with the early day one outlook by the Storm Prediction Center to our west during the overnight hours. So this includes areas west of Madisonville, west of Hopkinsville, places like Paducah, Murray, Mayfield, unfortunately, down through the boot heel of Missouri, far west Tennessee into Arkansas. That is where the risk for a tornado outbreak, and potentially a substantial one, is the highest. Further to the east, the level 4 moderate risk, still nothing to sneeze at, basically along and west of Interstate 65 as we head through the evening hours. This basically cuts our area in half. So we're right on that line between the enhanced and the moderate. The idea is the storm should start to weaken as we head through the afternoon or into the evening hours as they traverse the region. So the greatest threat for severe weather is to our west, but we still have a pretty hefty threat of storms as we head through the day. I did see a question, if we have cloud cover and some rain, would that help bring down the severe level? The answer is yes. The problem there is I just don't see it. I think we're going to be pretty capped during the day, so we're just going to increase the warmth and the moisture ahead of these storms, and that will bring us the potential for severe weather as we head through the evening hours. Timing it out, these times are in Eastern time, so subtract an hour here. We're talking between 6 and about 10 for areas far west Kentucky, getting into our region as we head towards 9 to 1 a.m. For our far western communities. That's our places like Russellville into Adairville, Chandler's Chapel, Morgantown, Rochester, Woodbury. Further to the east, we're creeping toward Woodburn and Bowling Green and Alvaton and Franklin and Brownsville, those communities there in far western Edmonson County like Bee Spring and Sweden, and Calebiot, of course. And then as we head towards between 11 and 3, these storms will slow down big time as they cross Interstate 65. The front will start to lose its forward momentum, and that's when the storms will start to train once we head towards, say, 11 o'clock to 3 a.m., working through the eastern portions of the region. I mean, between the time it starts to rain in, say, or the severe weather starts in Russellville versus when it gets to, say, Glasgow, it could be 2 to 3 hours, just because of this front will slow its forward momentum as it starts to work forward, heading through the day today. So the high risk is quite rare. I'd have to go back and look to see when the last time any part of Kentucky was in a high risk. It's been several years, if not 13 years. The highest threat for the tornado outbreak is going to be across far west Kentucky, as it seems right now. Doesn't mean we can't see tornadoes. In fact, some strong ones not out of the question in the level 4 moderate risk for severe weather, but we start to slow that thing down, and that's when our severe weather threat starts to wane, because the later in the night we go, the fuel starts to wane. We start to lose the potential energy to bring some of this severe weather to the ground. So it's not going to be a big tornado outbreak for all of us, but out to the west, that's where the threat is highest, and our western counties have the best threat of seeing significant severe weather into tonight, even though we have all potential for severe weather through tonight. Tornado probabilities were right on the line between the 10 to 15% range. That would be higher in any discrete cells that can keep themselves together. Once they get into a line, I can't rule out a strong tornado or a longer track tornado, but the greatest threat for a large destructive tornado is going to be with any individual cells that can keep their identity as we work through the afternoon, or mainly the evening and into the late evening hours. Again, the biggest threat is to the west, where the 30% risk is, but a 15% risk, nothing to sneeze at. I don't believe we've seen a 15% risk in this area since probably late May of last year, and then you'd have to go to early April of last year before that. So we are dealing with pretty substantial severe weather threat through the region here on this second day of April. Severe wind and hail, again, 30% wind risk. We see that several times a year, but the threat for winds gusting to hurricane force is there. Hail threat better out to the west, but I can't rule out some larger stones as we head through the nighttime hours. We still have a threat for severe weather into our Thursday, into our Friday and Saturday. I think this is going to be more of your standard risk for some scattered strong storms as we head towards Thursday and Friday. But the long track tornado threat and the hurricane force wind threat will be much lower Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. This is your typical kind of pulse type summertime severe weather, right? Where it doesn't last very long in any one location, but can drop some very heavy rain. Better threat to the west on Friday, and then on Saturday, the whole region is in it. That strong cold front would finally kick things out. We'll go through the modeling here in just a second. But the higher threat remains to the south and west, depending on where the next low pressure goes. The big threat with this, the overall arching threat, remains the potential for tremendous amounts of rain, flash flooding, getting 8 to 10 inches of rain in 5 days. That will cause widespread river flooding, potentially life-threatening. And flash flooding in any thunderstorms will also equal the potential for huge rainfall amounts. It's very rare that we get a moderate risk for excessive rainfall, and it's very rare that we get it on multiple days. So today, moderate risk for excessive rainfall. Tomorrow, a moderate risk of excessive rainfall. We're in that marginal risk on Friday, but we're back in the moderate risk into the day on Saturday. So it's very rare to see several days in a row with the moderate. That's the 3 out of 4 risk on the excessive rainfall. I know we have a lot of scales here, but it's a similar scale. They just don't have the enhanced risk from the Weather Prediction Center. So let's get into the modeling. First off, today we're going to see those temperatures soar. I'm not going to spend too much time on the temperatures. We're getting into the 70s quickly this morning. I think models tend to underdo strong southwesterly winds, so I think we're closer to maybe the mid-80s during the day. Today it's going to be very breezy outside of any storm, so if you're traveling on east-west roads, you're going to get blown around a little bit. 2 hands on the wheel. It's a 10-2 day out there as we head through the day today. Now, let's start to unravel the severe weather potential as we head through the day. So, I'm not going to get into the indices. Just know that we have plenty of wind shear, the changing of wind speed and direction with height. We have plenty of instability. But what we have during the day is what's called a cap. So, you notice during the afternoon, not much is going on, but storms are starting to fire out to the west. You see in southern Illinois, the Boot Heel of Missouri, this is 4 o'clock, and you see not a whole lot going on. That's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because if any storms were to go in the environment that we have, they would go severe very quickly and likely produce tornadoes and large hail. We hold off on that thanks to a layer of warm air above the surface that prevents that air from rising up into thunderstorms. So that's a good thing in the afternoon, but it also allows us to build that instability as we head through the nighttime hours so the storms can at least somewhat maintain their strength as they fire out to the west as individual supercells that could produce strong long-track tornadoes to our west. Then as we head into the evening hours, they start to cluster up and line out. Okay, you see by 8 o'clock, those storms are closer to a line. Those supercells are starting to interact with one another. That takes down the big-time tornado threat, but you can still get a strong tornado in this scenario because of just how much wind energy we have out there. So that works into the region, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, but you still see these individual little areas of purple. There's one, there's one, there's one. There's one. These are all the original individual supercells that are starting to cluster together, and that's where we need to watch the kinks in the line, the little dog legs that start to show up. That would indicate the greater tornado potential. We had a tornado warning like that last Sunday night. Nothing was surveyed on the ground that a tornado touched down, but there were 5 tornadoes in the Louisville metro area, including a long-track 30-mile EF1 tornado, kind of similar to one we had around here last May. That's something we'll need to watch heading into the evening hours tonight. Those storms start to push to the east, and those storms, you notice, we're starting to lose the purple cores, so as we head later into the night, the severe weather threat will decrease, but it will not go away, because even though we're bringing down the fuel, we still have that moisture pump out of the Gulf, and that means we're going to continue to see round after round of heavy rain overnight into the early hours of Thursday. That front stalls and it just kind of wiggles through the region. This is noon tomorrow. This is tomorrow afternoon. We'll get a break, but here come more storms as we head into Thursday evening and Thursday overnight, early Friday morning. This particular run of the model only goes out to 1 o'clock Friday morning, but you see that frontal boundary serves as a focus for strong thunderstorms working through the region. This is Thursday mid-morning going off the European model, and I'm using a kind of a broader model here to show the potential for those storms to just sit for days on end, off and on. This is Friday morning. We may get a little bit of a break on Friday, but notice, next low pressure starts to get going and tries to scoot in here as we head into the day on Saturday. This low doesn't look nearly as strong as the low that's kicking off the severe weather threat to our west today. You notice today's low is probably in the 990s, maybe upper 980s. This is 1,008, so this is not nearly the strength, but still we'll have to watch for strong thunderstorms. Right now the threat seems better to the south. We'll continue to watch it. Certainly not as big of a threat, at least it appears right now. And then by Sunday, we clear things out and we're done. We get into a much cooler, much more tranquil pattern. You see maybe some showers by next Friday, but overall a much quieter, more northwest flow pattern, kind of like the one we saw last week that kept things a little active, but overall not too bad, especially considering what we've seen out there today. So again, Very heavy rain. This continuing to indicate that Green River will likely see quite a bit of moderate flood stage, potentially a major flood stage at Woodbury, moderate flood stage at Rochester. Our creeks and streams will need to be watched very, very closely as we head through the remainder of the week into the weekend, because that, I think, may end up being the calling card of this system overall, with numbers precipitation-wise that would challenge some of our higher standing records, including the Great Ohio River flood of '97. So again, never drive through flooded roadways, never drive through floodwaters. If you can't see the road, even if you can, really, just we'd say turn around, don't drown. Most flood fatalities occur in vehicles, and we don't want you to die. And that is something, if you drive through a flooded roadway, you are increasing the chances of that as we head through the nighttime hours. Susan's asking, do we know what time the shelters are opening? I do not. Check with your local government. Check with the folks at the Warren County government and City of Bowling Green. They'll likely have some information on that in your area. But again, the flooding threat continues to stand out, as well as your nighttime tornado threat. Keep the flashlight and the shoes ready to go. Cell phone turned on, charged. Your wireless emergency alerts on. Your NOAA weather radio. This is why we say have multiple ways to receive information as we head through the nighttime hours, especially with these storms hitting well past dark. You need to have multiple ways to get those warnings. Make sure the phone's charged. Make sure the weather radio batteries are ready to go. That's why we tell you to make sure you swap out your weather radio batteries along with your smoke detector batteries when daylight saving time switches over, just so you've got those fresh batteries in case you lose commercial power. So, wrapping it up, next 6-day weather forecast, warm and breezy today, severe storms tonight, strong to severe storms, the chance each day, a lesser chance than tonight, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but the heavy rain is going to be the main threat Thursday into Friday and Saturday. We kind of put it in park with those strong storms at times, but the heavy rain's the big threat. We finally calm things down, cool it down too. Sunday in the low 60s and Monday in the middle 50s, a daytime high. That should just about do it for me this morning. Obviously, we will have coverage of this through the day on our social media channels, on X, on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and obviously as the storms move in tonight, I imagine we'll get some watches and warnings, and we will have to likely hop on Facebook later tonight. Landon and I, one of us at least, will likely have to deal with that and updating folks on our social media channels as well. That's your morning update so far this morning, brought to you as always by On Target. Let's make it a great day out there, everybody, and stay safe.